Thank you for joining us on the Ledge VIP. This is your host, Carl Calendar. I appreciate our listeners for tuning in today. Just want to let everybody know once again, you can follow, download, listen to the podcast on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, and CastBox. You can do that on the website, or you can download those apps and listen to us on those platforms. And definitely you could go to the website, www.ontheledge.vip, for all the playbacks. All right? Now, we have a great guest today. We have Georgia State House Representative Donna McLeod here, and representing Gwinnett County. Thank you, Donna, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Carl, for having me, and thank you to your listeners. Hope this be an informative session for them, and they learn something about me and something about their government.
Thank you. So first, let's start off on how did you get? No, let's do this. What area of Gwinnett County do you represent?
So I represent part of Bethlehem, a part of Decula, a part of Lawrenceville, a part of Loganville, and a part of Grayson. So that's kind of the top northeast of Gwinnett County.
Okay.
And it was what they call a gerrymander district in 2015. The district line was changed in order to give my opponent an advantage. And I actually ran in 2016 and lost that race, but won in 2018.
Okay, I got you. So give us a brief history about you. How did you get started?
Well, brief history, I'll have to go back. I was born in the island of Jamaica, and I was 9 years old when I left Jamaica. My father actually went to Canada in the late 60s. He's a welder, and obviously always looking for a better life, more opportunity. And about 9 years later, he sent for my sister and myself, and actually went with my stepmother's daughter. She was coming up from Jamaica as well. So I grew up quite of my time, my adolescent years and early childhood was partly in Canada. And I went to school there. I went to college there for chemical engineering. So I'm a chemical engineer. And I had my daughter in Canada. And I was 30 before I actually came to the States. And I came here in 1998. I actually moved into DeKalb County for the first 2 years of being here. I initially had Gwinnett on my mind, but when we drove in from, we literally drove in from Toronto, took I think it was 20-hour drive. When we drove in, saw Gwinnett County first after coming through the South Carolina border, and said, whoop, that's a little far out. It's so far away from the city. So I started rethinking about where we want to live. And I actually moved here. My dad again sponsored us to come down here, and we were already in our 20s. And when he sponsored us, we didn't know exactly where we'd want to live in the States. And it actually took 7 years to get the green card. So we waited for 7 years. I was in Canada, so there was no rush. But once they did give you the green card, you had 6 months to get out of Dodge. And it so happened between 1991 and 1996, the Atlanta area had the Olympics.
Yes.
And we were able to watch the Olympics in Canada. I'm from the Toronto, Mississauga area, and Brampton, so more in southern Ontario. And so we're watching it. I think it was Maynard Jackson. He was doing such a great job in promoting Atlanta and Georgia. And we just thought, okay, if that's an option. So it was either between Seattle, Washington, and here. We finally decided to come here after being able to drive here. Seattle was a little bit longer, even by flight, and it was further away from Ontario, and it was also further away from Jamaica.
Oh yes, it was.
So the decision was made to come down here. Came down here, not really thinking much about anything, but it so happened 2000 was an election year in this country, and I watched the election between Gore and Bush, and I was disturbed a little bit by the fact that they had called the election for Gore and then it was rescinded. And I thought, what do you mean rescind? You can't just say somebody won a state and then take it back. And I was not happy with that, and I didn't like some of the principles that at that time. I think he was governor. George W. Bush was I didn't like his platform that much,
Right.
and I didn't like the way he had treated one of his opponent, which was Senator McCain at the time, who was running for president on the Republican side. And so I actually ended up going down to Florida protesting his inauguration, and I'd only been in the country 2 years, so I was already ready for something.
Yeah, so you was already ramped up.
I already ramped up. But then it got quiet, and then, of course, 9/11 happened, and that created a different spectrum. And I remember just seeing a change in people's attitude about just tolerance and stuff, so it was concerning at that time. And then 2004 came along. I was dating somebody, and he was actually on the Howard Dean campaign. And so I kind of, So
He's the one that said, "Oh,
that'd be the one."
Oh, that's him. Okay.
Yeah, and of course the convention happened, and this young, wonderful man comes on stage talking about it's not a blue state, it's not a red state, it's the United States of America. And then he brought up his wife and his 2 kids, and I said, okay, if he ever ran for president, I would be there on day one. And of course, that was 2004. And over that years, I kind of kept trying. I'm not a citizen, by the way. All this time, I'm not a citizen. I hadn't decided to become a citizen at all because growing up in Canada, having universal health care, I wasn't inclined to change my citizenship and run the risk of losing that ability if somewhere seriously went wrong with me. So I wasn't going to do that.
Smart move.
Yeah. And so it went on, and what I used to do was when Senator Obama announced his candidacy to run in the late part of 2007, I was committed from that point on. And so I used to drive from Gwinnett County, not the north side.
Okay.
That's where the office was open, his first office was open. And it's funny because there was only like 14 people that first Saturday that the office opened. And only about 6 of us was actually from the state of Georgia. Everyone else were young people from out of state. I actually went out canvassing with a young man from Texas.
Okay.
And I remember the day actually snowed, which is unusual already, but it snowed. And I remember saying to him, "You want to go back to the car to stay warm?" And he said, "No, I'm doing this for Barack." And, just his commitment to him. And through all of this, we got doors slammed in our face because African Americans didn't think that he had the capability to become president. I never doubted it because I'm used to black leadership. I'm used to powerful people in my life. That's not an unusual thing for me. And so it was kind of weird when we were getting doors slammed in our faces. But a lot of people were just committed to then the former First Lady Hillary Clinton at the time. And they knew her husband, and I know a lot of folks that called the first President Clinton the first black president. So it was, and people forget all of that was going on around 2008.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. All that was going on. It became more evident that his possibility of being president was more increased after he won Iowa. But I was really convinced that he was going to be president after he won North Carolina.
Why North Carolina?
So that was the Reverend Wright. That was when Reverend Wright issue was at a feverish pace where the Republicans were telling him to denounce Reverend Wright.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I have a very vivid memory of this whole campaign because I was there in the thick of it. And I actually drove to North Carolina to canvass. And when I was canvassing, that's when I realized that all of that was going on in the media and stuff. It wasn't ringing through to anyone that was on the ground or in their homes. They were committed to seeing Barack Obama. And he won North Carolina. And after that point, I was pretty sure he was going to be president. So the night when he was elected, it was an enormous. I still feel emotional about that because it was such a tough campaign, but it was a remarkable campaign. I'd never been, other than having my daughter, that was probably one of the most remarkable thing I'd been involved with. Just the sheer camaraderie of people, the different races, cultures, religion. You went into those offices, you saw just about everybody represented and working on behalf of then Senator Obama.
See, a lot of people don't see behind closed doors. Okay, they just see the person in the front, so they don't ever see the different people from all different walks of life working as one for one person. So that's good that you were able to share that information with the listeners. So after that, you had the bug. What made is that what
that was the king? It's the bug.
Yeah.
It's like you can't stop. I remember that was actually that affliction happened to a lot of Obama supporters at the time, because once he was elected, it was almost like, what do we do next? So I decided the next thing for me was to keep moving and keep on. I couldn't stop. And what I did learn a lot from about American and their understanding of the politics or their governing. And what I found out was there's a lot of people that had a misconception of what a president was supposed to do. And we saw that effect in 2010 when people didn't show up at the polls, assuming that President Obama could basically, make laws. And he cannot do that. He do some executive orders, but laws is not. That's the responsibility of the legislative branch. And that was a real turning point for me when I started hearing people saying this, especially as we got closer to 2012, where I had people really, really blaming President Obama for some of the things that was happening. That was not his fault. And when you didn't show up in the polls in 2010 and didn't vote, you basically allowed other people's viewpoint to be at the table. And so when you don't vote, you are voting. Your absence of vote is a vote, to make sure that somebody else's view is at the table. So it was very much a learning process for me as well, because again, I'm thinking that people understand, but then they're realizing they don't.
They don't. They understand what they're told.
Yes.
So, okay. So let's talk about the levels of government from local, state, and federal. Because a lot of us don't know that, and maybe you can talk about this too, that state has a lot of power.
Okay, so let me say this. So I definitely acknowledge that was a problem. So I actually started a nonprofit organization.
Oh, okay.
So 2012, I was the director for voter outreach for Black Women for Obama. I was not a citizen yet, but I was in the process of getting my citizenship. And the reason why I was willing to do that now is because 2010 happened and President Obama got the health care bill, the Affordable Care Act, to go through Congress. And so I said, we're going in the right direction with health care. I'm willing now to become a citizen. So I applied for citizenship. I read the Constitution, $680 for the administrative costs, did the test, passed it obviously, and unfortunately I was not able to vote for President Obama at the time because my citizenship didn't come till after the November, I think it was the November 6th, was the election day, or 8th, I can't remember, or 7th, I can't remember.
You said a couple of days after.
Oh, okay. I didn't get it until something like November 24th or something like that.
Okay.
So it was after the election, but that's okay. I was able to help President Obama at the time for his re-election. And what I did with CANI, Community Action Network Initiatives, is cani.org, CANIINC.org. So Community Action Network Initiatives.
I heard of it.
Yes. So what I do is really try to educate people on what is civic, what is being civically engaged, what is your government, what does it stand for, what it needs to do. So that was the start of it. One of the ways to be even more civically involved is running for office, and which is something I did in 2016, and I lost that race by 222 votes, even though it was just recently gerrymandered. But I came back again and ran in 2018 and won by over 4,000 votes.
Give the definition of gerrymandered.
Okay, so there's two types of gerrymandering. You can either crack a district or pack a district. So cracking the district is basically like what happened to me. They took a district, took a part of a city, put it into another district, and then take another part of another district and give it to you. So that's cracking the district. So you crack it and move things. You can pack it in where you can say, I'm going to create a district where I put all Democrats in that area. So whoever represents that area, it's going to be very difficult for them to run statewide.
Okay.
Because you put so it's easy for them to win.
Right.
So there are several places that, it's primary Democrat or primary Republican, and it will be somebody who's off that political party that will win. They're basically the competition is between two Democrats, and if it's a Republican gerrymander district, it's going to be two Republicans. That's who's going to win.
Okay.
It doesn't allow for much competition. Representative democracy goes out the window because in some ways you're not getting a feeling of what a true district should look like. It's just kind of people are pushed together at one time. And our country is about a republic standing on representative democracy. So the fact that you vote allows you to participate in representative democracy. If you're putting just like-minded people, you're not getting that diversity. And our countries are diverse. It's got different people. Even if people may look alike, they still are diverse. But you're going to get some more differences if you have other influence in there.
I got a question for you. Now, in the state of Georgia, which we live in, how are our counties? Is it packed or?
So Republicans took the House in 2010. What they did was try their best to actually create packed districts.
Right.
So more people are packed that are similar in the parties in one area. So they are very, very geared towards packing. What was happening in Gwinnett County in particular is that it hadn't established yet. Remember Gwinnett County from 2000, I think when I got into Gwinnett County, it was probably about 400,000, maybe less people living in Gwinnett County. Today, almost 1 million people live in Gwinnett County. And so you don't have because census is every 10 years.
Right. And
the last one was 2010. So it's been hard for them to figure out what's going on in Gwinnett County simply because the growth was so fast.
Right.
And the only thing they can actually tell the changes that are occurring is because of voter registration.
Okay.
So it's not because they've done a census and actually they're looking at how the demographics are changing based on voter registration, not necessarily demographics numbers that they know. So that's the difference, right? So Gwinnett County presented a little bit more of a challenge for them. And so with my district was it was a very competitive district. Because I have
yes, it is very competitive.
It's very competitive district. So winning that district it took a lot to win that district because you have to appeal to everybody. I have people that live on farms with goats and cows and chickens, and then I have people that live in 500 square foot apartments. I have people that live in 5,000 square foot homes.
Okay,
so you're seeing there's
diverse,
very diverse. Then culturally, languages. Mine is probably one of the most black and white districts still left if it's not more white. But mine is probably the most mixture of black and white.
Right.
And then you come south down this area in Jamaica, you got a lot more Hispanic. But mine is very diverse in black and white, and culture. So you have a lot of Caribbean, Africans. Then you have your Georgians that have been in Gwinnett County and Gwinnetians that have been there for a long time. So that's my range.
There was a stat, and you could probably tell me this. Now, they said that Gwinnett County was the most diverse county in the Southeast. Not this in Georgia, but in the Southeast. Is that
That is correct. And it's the second most diverse county, I believe, in the United States.
Wow.
So we're really a model, and everybody's paying attention to Gwinnett County. So how we do this, what leadership we do, how we lead right now is going to be impactful for the rest of this country. When it comes to governing and cities, county, and state, this is another thing that people seem to get confused about. So each county has cities within the counties, and they're governed by their mayors and city council. And they have separate elections. Okay.
Okay.
Then you have You have county elections, and the county election consists usually of commissioners. Some people call them CEOs, but in Gwinnett County, and I'll speak directly about Gwinnett County, we have a commissioner board. So we have a chair, and we actually have 4 individuals that represent 4 districts in the commission district.
Okay.
And you actually have to, finding out where you live in the commission district, you have to know what your precinct number is. And then your precinct number, it's very confusing. Then you have to take your precinct number, find it on the commissioner's map. And that's where you know which commission district you live in.
Now, anybody living in Gwinnett County, how would that person find that out? Where would they have to go?
They literally have to call up their county, their board of election. I am right now trying to work with the state to put that as part of the My Voter page, the mvp.sos.ga.gov. It's My Voter page at the Secretary of State .georgia.gov. I'm right now. You'll find your state representative district. You'll find your congressional representative district. You're going to find on the My Voter page. You're going to find your congressional district. You're going to find your state house district. You're going to find your state Senate district. And of course, we have 2 senators that represent us at the federal level. What you won't find there is your county stuff. And I'm really trying to make sure that happens. The county, of course, has the commissioner district, but you have to identify your school board district. And your school board district is also identified by your precinct number going into a map that actually has the school board district identified. You locate your precinct number, and that's how you'll find out what school board district you live in. So in Gwinnett County, you have a couple different requirements that you need to know as a citizen and as a resident. You need to know if you live in the city limits. I live in Lawrenceville, but I do not live in the city limits. So there's a city limits. You need to know who's representing you as the mayor and the council folks that are there. And then outside of that, you will also have a commissioner district, and that's your executive branch for the county. The commissioners are, and then of course, most of our population is quite a large population of students, and you need to know who your school board representative is as well. Who's your school board person? You want to make sure that your kids, you can talk to somebody about if something needs to be done. So it's very layered, and then on top of that,
and confusing,
and I think it's probably deliberate. And then of course, then you have a person who represents you at the state. So let's move out. It's like we're rising up out of the county. Mm-hmm. Now you're looking at the big umbrella for your state. I am where I represent my district at the state level. Okay. And there are several other house districts within the county. So you can find out which house seat you have and who's your representative.
Is that a simpler process?
Yes, that's the one that's on the mvp.sos.ga.gov. So when you go into that page, you're going to put in your first initial, your last name, your date of birth, and the county you're registered in. Once you hit submit, you just basically look to on the right-hand side of the page towards the bottom. It will tell you House District 105. If you click on that, it will take you to the State House Representative page. You just scroll down, find 105, and you should see my beautiful face.
Yes, it is.
And my contact information there. And same for any other House district member. So that's how you find. Same with your senator seat, your state senate. If you click on that link, it will take you to the state senate page, and you'll just scroll down, find your senate seat number, and you'll find who your representative is.
Okay. Now, how long is your tenured once you become a state representative?
All state house, no matter federally or state, we have 2 years.
Okay, just 2 years.
2 years, and then we're back up for re-election. And so this is very important for folks to understand. What I really wanted for those people that always say to me, I'm not involved in politics. Okay, you're not involved in the political process of trying to get elected, but you're always involved in politics, by the way, even if you're trying to persuade somebody, because politics is about persuasion, right?
Correct.
There's probably more than one person running, and each of us are going to try to get you to vote for us. So we're going to tell you why you should vote for us. That's politicking, and we do that every day.
All right. This is something I always wanted to ask. Once a person gets in office, why is it so easy or quick for them to forget what they're supposed to be
doing? And I will tell because it is also up to the electorate to keep us accountable. It's also your job. The First Amendment says that. You have the right to call, pick the phone, write to those people. Trust me, there's a lot of people that recognize it. It's that more of us need to recognize our power, right?
Right.
In the power of participation. And this is important. I want to get back to the point of why you should be invested in it. Because it is ultimately about your tax dollars. Whether you pay income tax, property tax, sales tax, and in the county area, they collect revenue by if the police pulls you over and you're paying for tickets. So those are all revenue sources. All of that's all said and done, it's how we use your money. Our budgets is about what we fundamentally believe. The reason why you want to put people in the positions to be a voice for you is people that you want to think like you or believe in the same things as you, that will put emphasis on that in your money. No one should feel ashamed of the fact that they're wanting a return on their investment. There's no businessman that wants to use their money and not get a return on their investment. You should want the same thing for your money. If somebody's taking your money out of your taxes, you should want to know where that money's going. If somebody's going to take money when you buy something, you want to know that. You should be able to see. Some of it you can see externally, some things you won't see, right? If a business comes into your into your area and your people are employed, that's something that might not affect you because you have another job and you work someplace else, but it's affecting you indirectly because those people working is going to make your community stronger. Make their families stronger. Stronger families is going to be better for everyone. So some things are direct, some things are indirect. Once you get on the road and ride the road, that's very direct.
Right.
Whether there's a pothole or the road is paved right, that's direct. When people talk about socialism, and I hear all this socialism talking, I'm like, what? There's nothing free. We taxpayer pay for everything. And some things we just don't want to pay for it on a daily basis. We do not want to get in our car, get on the road, and every time we get on the road, we're paying a toll. The toll road is usually somebody trying to make a profit off that road. So when we put our money together, we should be demanding that we get the best services. Because it's really what it is that the collection of our taxes provides services for the people that are paying it. If you're not getting good service, that means you're a failure in your government. If you're paying your taxes, that's why people need to understand what taxes is about and what the government is about. I hope that breaks it down for people, because I've been trying my best to make sure I deliver a message that clearly identifies why it's so important to participate, what your money's being used for. So when I hear language like socialism, it's like, this is ridiculous. It is actually scare tactics, because there's no such thing. As long as people are collected, the money's being collected, they should demand that their money be used properly on behalf of them. So there's no such thing as free money. There's not a free lunch in America. No one gets anything for free. We pay for it.
We
trust and believe.
Somehow, some way.
Somehow, somewhere, we're paying for it. So I want people to look at that and feel empowered in knowing that this is really what their government is supposed to do for them. Why bother having it? It's so funny when I remember when the Affordable Care Act was being negotiated in 2010, and people were telling me, this socialism. But if you ever mention taking away their Social Security, oh, I paid it. Yeah, you paid into it. Yes.
Yes, you did.
And by the way, your money that you're paying into it is not your money that will be used for you. Right. It is to use it for the generation now who's retired. And so we all contributed to each other. So this is basically the collective basically saying there's certain things that we're willing to make sure that the society runs in a better way, because we're going to do it together.
Okay.
And I believe capitalism and market-driven economies are good, because innovation, competition is good. I'm an engineer, so we're always trying to do something different. We're always trying to improve stuff. So I have no problem with a market-driven, capitalistic idea of our society, because it drives innovation, and we can get things that these cell phones are not because people sat there and waited around, because somebody decided innovation was important.
Correct.
So I can't be against that. But there are some things that we shouldn't have to pay for on a day-to-day basis so somebody can make a profit from it.
Okay. So what's next for you after state representative? So are you going to run again?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I definitely want to represent my district for a while longer. There's some things I want to do. We don't get as much opportunity to get bills on the floor because we're in the minority in the state house. Democrats are in the minority.
Okay.
So the majority, their bills get put on the floor, and we're just sometimes they take our ideas and put it in their bills. Oh yeah. And then pass it off of theirs. Yeah.
So you're talking about there's competition on ideas, and they will take your idea and make it theirs.
Yes.
Wow.
They will do that. They will do that.
No problem. Okay. All right. Huh. Okay. So what do you have going on for the next couple of months as far as representing
Well,
Gwinnett County?
this is supposed to be a part-time job. It hasn't proven to be a part-time job. Whenever you represent people, it's a full-time job. Because there's always something going on in somebody's life, and they need your help to help put them in a better place. Whether it's a legislative that they want you to look at, or they see something going on that affects them and want somebody to do something about it. You always have people calling you for events. People want your opinion. When the news broke, when Trump basically told these 4 lawmakers to go home, you get calls from the AJC, you get calls from people asking what's your opinion. And in fact, I'm probably the perfect person for them to call in a situation that I happen to be a woman, a woman of color,
yes,
and an immigrant.
Okay.
And who was duly elected. So that's the bottom line, is that it's not a thing. But for me, I'm hoping to get back to my clients because I'm an engineer and want to do some more consulting work, because and everybody out there, I think we only make $17,700, something like that we make for the year. Yeah.
That's it?
That's it. So all those people that think that but what it is that we're at a table, and I think that hopefully we could make an argument to the constituents to say that we deserve a little bit more. But I think you need to show your folks that you're there for them, and that you're working for them, and that it is a full-time job. The reason why people do forget sometimes why they were there is because the electorate forget to hold them accountable. I always said, you want to pay unto Caesar, but you're not keeping Caesar accountable. That's on you, because Caesar will continue paying and doing what Caesar wants to do,
right,
even if you're not saying anything.
Okay. So before we go here, I want you to definitely get your information out there.
Okay. Someone
wants to reach out to you, and go ahead.
So, like I said, we're up for re-election every 2 years, and a campaign is not cheap. And for me, I actually took the entire year off and used my own personal funds to run my household. So what I had in saving, I had to use, because any money that we collect in donation is not our money. It's for the campaign, and we have to actually report that to ethics. So if you're so inclined and you think you've learned something, and then you want somebody like me to continue representing you, please go to my website, www.electdonnamcleod.com. That's www.electdonnamcleod.com. And please make a donation. You can also sign up to get my newsletter. I do try to keep everyone in the state of Georgia informed, even if you're not my constituent, because I think it's important for people to understand that every lawmaker votes on every single bill that impacts every single Georgian in the USA. So it's not just a small district, or you're just pushed in one district. When it comes to lawmaking, we all vote on every single bill that comes through our legislative branch. So I hope that people have a better understanding of how things work. The bills, basically, what happens is somebody comes up with an idea of a bill, and what is a law? Somebody's opinion. Once that idea, you send that over to the Legislative Council, They prepare the bill, looking at all the laws and the statutes that it might involve, and then it comes into the floor. We vote for it. If it gets to the floor, like I said, the Democratic bills haven't been coming to the floor, and once it comes to the floor, we get a vote on it. It goes over to the Senate, the Georgia Senate. If they're okay with it, they might add something and send it back over to us, so we'd have to review that bill again. And then if it's a majority thing, then the bill passes. Mm-hmm. But then you have to have the governor sign off on it. If the governor signs off on it, it becomes a new law in the state of Georgia, just like the hands-free for your phone. Basically that's part of lawmaking.
Okay, so let me understand this right. So the governor has to sign it to make a official law within that.
So he has a certain amount of time to sign it. So he can sign the bill, or he can leave it, and then I think it's 40 days. Mm-hmm. If that lapses, it still becomes law because the legislative bodies passed it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully, this has been an episode with a lot of nuggets as far as how government runs, especially in the state of Georgia, but at least as a whole, how pretty much legislation from state, local, and federal runs. I'd like to thank you once again for joining us. You've been on the Ledge VIP.
I just want one more thing to say. Please get registered to vote. Please encourage everyone to get out there and vote. Pick up the application, do it online, but get registered to vote. 2020 is around the corner. It's a huge year. It is a presidential election, and also this time in 2020 will be a census year. So we want everybody to get counted as well. So please do your part as a citizen, as a resident of this state of Georgia, and somebody who wants to make sure the state go in the right direction. Please participate. Thank you.
Thank you, State Representative of Georgia, Miss Donna McLeod. Thank you very much, Donna McLeod, because I've been practicing.
Say it loud.
Say it loud.
For Donna McLeod.
All right. Thank you, guys.